All right, there we go. You should be seeing the top interfaces view now. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about SNMP within the interface. You see this is the top interfaces view that you're all familiar with. And we can drill in and we can run a report on any one of these interfaces on our flow data. And you'll see we now have available. Actually, I wanted to pick this interface because I know that there are actually some errors on this guy. If we drill in, you can see SNMP is an option. So it's just another report type where the source is coming from SNMP data. You see you'll have the same filtering interface, date selector, report menu, everything that you're used to. I can see here, we're collecting bytes and packets, but we also have errors and discards here. If I change my sort to errors, then I can see the errors trended over time. And so now I know that something's going on with this interface, but now if I want to know what is the impacted traffic, I can go ahead and just drill in on that interface and say, show me what are the conversations that are going on. And I've pivoted from SNMP data into flow data, all within the same interface, which I think is a really nice workflow. So that's what we have today, and there will be more coming. For some Cisco devices, we're collecting CPU data. We'll be adding memory and other statistics. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you what would be interesting to trend via SNMP as we move forward. So the next thing I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about AI and show you guys what that workflow looks like. Let's just take an example here. Say we have Oscar in accounting, and he's reported to us that the financials application is running slow, and there's something odd going on. So a traditional workflow before AI is we go into top interfaces, we could go and find the device for the observation point, either for the data center or for where Oscar is within the Scranton location. But I'm going to use AI to do this for me. You guys are all power users, but you might have some new people on the team who are coming in and aren't super familiar with how to run a report like this. So we can pull up the AI, and I'm just going to go in. No, that isn't what I wanted. That was a meeting ID. I'm not going to make you watch me type because typing isn't a strong point here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, show me the financials application report, traffic report for the Scranton accounting switch. And now this is using the Plixer available endpoint, which is hosted in Bedrock with Amazon. We also have the ability to use your own LLMs, your own internally for an endpoint, if that's something that you would like. So you can see the AI went through and ran this report for me. It gave me a little summary of what it did. And if I go up here and mouse over my filter, I can see that it included the financials defined application, and it found the Scranton switch for accounting as the observation point. So knowing that this is a current event that's happening right now I'm going to ask the AI to refine this for me a little bit. So I'm just going to say, let's switch this to a top host report for the last 15 minutes. And now we are, again, sending this data leveraging Bedrock and that LLM for this use case. But we've also have a vector store locally, and we've included all of our defined applications, our IP groups, device names, interface names, and other relevant information, vectorize that for the RAG for the LLM. So you can see now this went and pivoted and showed us we were looking at the top hosts. And if I go back up to the filter, it changed my report time. It changed my time frame. It changed my report type, and it maintained the filter that I had in here before. So now I'm going to show you a couple other things here in reporting that hopefully will be interesting. We can go ahead and we can close the AI, and it'll show up down in the bottom right. Or if we think that that's a little bit too much in our face, we can go ahead and use this icon in the upper right, and it'll hide it away. I'll show you that in a second. You also have the option to give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you put in a comment and hit the thumbs down, that's going to pass on to us what your request was and what your comment was about that request. We're not keeping any of the data relative to, your exporters, your flow data. None of that is stored, but it will pass on to us what you were asking AI to do for you and why you liked it, or why you thought it could have been a little bit different. So we're looking forward to seeing how everybody's using this tool. So in the upper right hand corner here, if I click that icon, you can see now the AI assistant is moved up into the upper right hand corner of the UI. So not quite as in your face as it is down bottom. So we gave you some options there. So back to our scenario of Oscar and the financials application. I'm now looking at the list of hosts, but I want to go in and I want to see actually what the usernames were. So within the report menu, we have the ability to search for report types, and we have the descriptions of these reports. That was added in the last version. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it makes the report menu really nice and easy to use. And I'm going to pivot from this report to show the usernames. So now I can go in here and I can see, oh, okay, Oscar is 30.51. I don't see any traffic patterns jumping out that are different. But let's go take a look at Flowhopper and see what Flowhopper shows us about how his traffic is traversing the network. So I'll drill in on his IP address. You'll notice this is another new change in 19.7, where the report menu provides additional context on what the pivot filter will be. As you guys probably know, when I'm running a report and I drill in on something in the report table, not only does it let me change the report type context, but it also adds the filter context of whatever it is I clicked on. So I'm going to go and I'm going to switch to a connections report. Connections are where we make Flowhopper available, and that's because within the spectrum of visualization, Flowhopper is the most granular. Flowhopper is looking at an individual source port and source IP, destination port and destination IP, and it's going and it's showing you how that flow actually traversed the network. So you'll see within the connections report, we have the Flowhopper icon. I'll go ahead and click on that. And what this is going to do is it's going to go and look at, do I have next hop information? If I don't have next hop information, it'll go and leverage CDP and LLDP information. It'll look at routing tables, and it'll look at where this flow could possibly go within the network. Then it's going to go and it's going to look on each one of those observation points and say, do we see the flow there? And how did it actually move through the network? So you can see with this visualization now, we're seeing Oscar's host 30.51. See, he's going through the accounting switch in Scranton, the router in Scranton, and then we can see that traffic is going out to the router in New York, to the data center, and then to the finance server. What's interesting here is it's showing us that on the path back, when this flow leaves the New York router, it's not going directly back to the Scranton router. It's going to the Stanford router. And we can see by mousing over that, sorry, I'm jumping around a lot with my mouse. We can see the path going back from B to A, that the next hop is indeed going to that Stanford router. Flowhopper saw that and went and looked in Stanford. And then we saw that the flow actually did go through that device. This points out that we have an asymmetrical route, and it's something that things may be working, but they're not working necessarily as designed or as intended. And this helps us visually see that in a really clear way. So that's Flowhopper. It's an interesting tool. And like I said, within the spectrum of visualization, it's the most granular way of looking at traffic across your network and visualizing that. It's one individual flow. Then if we want to go and zoom out sort of to the highest level visualization, that would be, how are all of your network devices connected to each other? So this is showing all of your, this is our little dev network here in Kennybunk, and it's showing you our routers and firewalls and switches and how they're connected. If I drill in on that, I can see the device details about that device. I can pivot to the entity view for that, or I can run a report for the observation point and say, I want to see flows that are happening in that particular spot. And we also have the ability to go and see interfaces. So if I drill in on an interface, it's going to show me the context of the devices that are communicating. It's going to show me how it determined that link is there and what the instances are. And if I drill in, I'm going to get some additional details. And again, the ability to run a report for that specific interface or that specific observation point. So now we've looked at Flow Hopper at the very granular level. We have this automatic topology view at a very high level, and we're going to be, there's some new exciting things that are coming along with this in future releases. But SNMP laid the foundation with LLDP and CDP, and now we have this visualization, and there'll be more cool stuff to come that builds on top of this. I'm going to pivot from there to Kubernetes because I want to show you guys some cool stuff that we're doing with Kubernetes monitoring. And it also gives you a little look into kind of what I think of as our mid-range data visualization. And that's at the reporting level, where we have a connection report that will show you how hosts are communicating within a report. So we'll get to that in just a second. But just to start, you can see I created a basic dashboard with some Kubernetes data. This is coming from our ML engine, which uses Kubernetes as the underlying technology. So we can see what are my top source pods, top destination pods, and then what is the top communication within the Kubernetes cluster in a visualization. And then at the bottom here, I also included some of the vitals information, because not only are we showing you the network communications between your pods and nodes, but we're also within this dashboard and within this utility, we're sending vitals information. So CPU and memory use by pods, by nodes. So you can see over time, is there something odd going on in a dashboard view like this, or you could drill in and run a report. I'm going to drill in on this connections report though, and show you some of the visualization stuff I was talking about. So when I drill in, I can now see within my connections report the top, each of the top 10 are going to show up as colored, just as the report below shows us. And I can go and mouse over those lines and say, okay, that's port 8080 and it's communication between these two pods. And then you can see the majority of the traffic is going to be with those two pods based on the color of those, the size of the circles around them. So this is interesting within the context of Kubernetes, but it's also just a connection graph type. It was introduced a few versions back, but those of you who've been using the tool for a while may not have noticed or be aware that it's there. Any report that's using source and destination information will allow you to have this connection report type. So you could do this IP group to IP group, autonomous system to autonomous system, host to host, etc. So that is a quick look at what we're doing with Kubernetes monitoring. Again, you'll see that it's just another exporter. It's taking the data, normalizing it to IPFix, and sending it to us. So all of this data becomes available through your standard reporting, dashboard gadgets. You could set up thresholds and notifications if you wanted to. You can also monitor any of these IP addresses for behavior within the ML engine. Your flow analytics algorithms are going to be looking at these hosts. And that's, again, not only across Kubernetes, but across all of your clouds as well. So that is the Kubernetes. And now let's take a look at a Zscaler example here. This is another dashboard that I set up for Zscaler. And what we're doing is we are pulling data for ZIA and ZPA. This is primarily a ZIA example here. And solving the problem that the people with Zscaler see. They loved having Scrutinizer in the past to show them what's happening within a tunnel, what's happening within their network. And once Zscaler is introduced, now you're seeing a GRE tunnel. And you're not, they were telling us we're blind to what's happening within that tunnel. So what we've done is we've gone and integrated with Zscaler to pull down the information about what the flows are inside the tunnels and provide reporting on that to give you that single pane of glass, full visibility that you're used to in Scrutinizer. So a couple of interesting things. I created a gadget here to show what are the top data centers, what are the top tunnel IPs that are being used. We have a gadget that shows what are the top categories, but really kind of the meat and potatoes and what people are really interested in seeing most of the time in Scrutinize or in Plixer One is going to be what is the traffic. So I have this internet traffic gadget. You can see that there was a little bit of a spike there. If we drill in on that, it's going to again pivot us into reporting, and we can see exactly what that traffic was, the client, server, application, all those details that were obfuscated by Zscaler are now visible again within Plixer One.